And
good evening. We're just waiting on the attendees to start entering the forum. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, let's get started. Good evening, all. My name is Marilyn Alhoos, and I am the Executive Director of the Airdrie Regional Chamber of Commerce. I am pleased to host the 2025 Municipal Candidates Forum for Rockyview County. Just a reminder that tonight's forum is being recorded. The link will be available on our chamber website event pages within 48 hours. This is a great opportunity for our business leaders and residents to get better informed on the issues facing the county and how our candidates here tonight will address them if elected. Before we begin, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge that we are situated on Treaty 7 territory, traditional lands of the Stoney Nakoda peoples of the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Weasley bands, the Tsuut'ina, the Blackfoot people of Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai band. We also respectfully acknowledge that we are on the homelands of the Métis Nation with Regions 3. If you are able to, I would like to now invite you to please stand as we play our national anthem, and please sing along if you'd like. Thank you. This evening, we will be hearing from candidates as they share their vision for our community. As the voice of local business and of over 620 members, and several of those being in Balzac and the Rockyview region, the goal of our chamber hosting this forum is to encourage public dialogue and awareness of the priorities of Rockyview County. I would now like to welcome and introduce our moderator for this evening, Jason Leslie, Chief Operating Officer with the Alberta Chambers of Commerce. Jason is an experienced moderator of forums like this, and he has led the Alberta Chamber of Commerce Vote Prosperity campaign, working with community chambers to amplify the voice of Alberta business and advance economic priorities with all levels of government. Please join me in welcoming Jason Leslie.
Thank you, Marilyn. It is an absolute honor to be moderating tonight's event on behalf of the Airdrie Regional Chambers of Commerce. Chambers are nonpartisan, and our core role is to advocate for the business community with a solution-based approach to growing economic opportunity locally, provincially, and federally. While everyone is welcome to attend and learn from this forum, our focus tonight is on questions and topics that reflect the interests of local businesses. And we are encouraging candidates to focus on policy, not personality, in their comments. Before we get to tonight's forum, I'd like to take a moment to review the rules all candidates have agreed to. Each candidate will have 60 seconds for an opening statement. And the questions used in tonight's forum were pre-submitted during registration, provided by the Chamber's Advocacy Committee, and are drawn from the vote prosperity priorities for the 2025 municipal election. Candidates will have 90 seconds to respond to questions that are addressed to them. And please keep questions respectful. Disrespectful comments may result in removal from the forum. Due to time constraints, we will not be taking questions from the chat this evening. If your question isn't addressed, we encourage you to contact the candidates directly after the event. This forum is designed to provide equal opportunity for each candidate to share their platform and vision for our communities. And please note that none of the candidates have advanced knowledge of the questions. And finally, each candidate will have 60 seconds to make a closing statement at the end of the program. Invitations to participate in this forum were issued to all registered candidates in Rockyview County. And accepting the invitations, we have 8 out of 21 candidates. That actually may be 7. I stand to be corrected. We're waiting to hear for maybe a late arrival. But for now, that's where we're at. And without any further ado, I would like to list the candidates for Rockyview County. Please wave when I call your name in alphabetical order by last name. Roland Ashdown, Division 7. Allison Colbourne, Division 2. Bev Copithorne, Division 2. Mark Kamachi, Division 1. Milt Scott, Division 5. Alison Whiting, Division 3. And Nick Wiebe, Division 7. Before we get to the hot topics of the evening, each candidate is going to have 60 seconds to deliver an opening statement. So please unmute yourself when asked to speak. Microphones will automatically be turned off at the 60-second mark. You will see a counter counting down throughout the evening as each candidate speaks. And just to our candidates, I will let you know that the Airdrie team are tight on the time. So be aware that it'll be 60 seconds. And the order of candidates that are going to be introducing their remarks was randomly generated. And we are going to be starting off with Milt.
Hi, I'm Milton Scott, but I go by Milt. It was funny when I think of the mall. I come to Alberta in 1989, and we actually silaged that field before there was ever a mall there. So, been around for quite a while. General manager of a larger farming operation just east of Airdrie, but also involved in different businesses. We started the Scott's Miracle Grow company. We didn't start the Scott's Miracle Grow. We started the bagging facility and then sold it to Scott's Miracle Grow. So, been involved in subdivision, been involved in farming, been involved in the feedlot and cow-calf operation. Been involved in the area for I guess 36 years. So, yeah, I think that's about all for me.
Thanks, Milt. Allison Colbourne.
Thank you. My name is Allison Colbourne. I'm running to represent Division 2 in Rockyview County. I'm a business owner like many of you, and my family chose to make our home here in Division 2 because of the unique blend of the rural roots, the strong agricultural base, and the amazing growing communities. I've been a public servant for over a decade in BC and have experience in public engagement, policy consultation, and streamlining government services and getting rid of red tape. So I think all of this is really relevant to the job at hand, and I really look forward to being able to apply that going forward.
Thank you, Allison. Roland.
I haven't been called Roland since grade 5 when Mr. Mohan knew somebody named Roland. You can call me Rolly, Jason, if that's okay. I'm originally from Saskatchewan. I moved to the area in 1976. I've been a real estate agent for 35 years, and we bought some property near Shepherd, which is in the southeast corner of Rockyview County. And It was a bit of a challenge to split the 20 acres down into 4-acre pieces. So I got interested in municipal politics in 2007. I ended up getting on council in 2010. There was 5 of us that were new councillors. So we collectively decided that one of us should be the reeve, even though none of us had been on council before. I got the short straw or the long straw, however you want to look at it. But that's when I met James up at the mall there, and the mall was brand new, and I don't even think it was full at that time. So I've enjoyed my time with Rockview County, and I hope to get back on again. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rolly. Bev?
Hi, my name is Bev Copithorne. I'm running in Division 2 in Rockyview County. I'm a 4th-generation resident who has deep roots and a long-standing commitment to public service and community engagement. My background is board governance, municipal affairs, agriculture, and community development. I serve as a vice chair on the Rockyview County Family Community Support Service Board. I'm on Rockyview's SDAB board. I'm also a member of our local community hall, and I serve on Rural Crime Watch as well. So that's a little bit about me.
Thanks very much. And our next candidate will be, oh, I had a little oops there. Nick.
Good evening, thank you. Yeah, I'm Nick Wiebe. I'm running for Division 7, Langdon. So I got involved in this process back in 2021. I sat down with our then incumbent Councillor Al Schul and wanted to get more involved. I did a little bit of research and saw that Rockview had been burdened with, a lot of infighting and red tape, and looking forward to what I wanted to do with my own house in Langdon. I wanted to get more involved. I got appointed to 3 different boards: SDB, ARB, and Marigold. And, I got to see exactly what it is, kind of how the administration works, how other counties view Rockyview when I was at Marigold, and get to listen to the people and, hear a lot from all across Rockyview of what the concerns have been over the years. My past experience, I've been in advocacy, I've been, in sales and the leadership roles and stuff.
Nick, I think we're at time there, so I'm going to call on Mark.
Hi. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for attending tonight. I know there's a baseball game on TV, so thanks for the introduction. My name is Mark Kamachi, and I'm running for Division 1 Councillor. What I bring to the table is previous council experience from 2017 to 21. I'm a father of 2 lovely daughters, husband of 1 beautiful wife, and I live in Bragg Creek. One of the things I like to bring is my experience as a person. I've been a teacher, a mentor. My wife and I run a advertising design company, which has been around for 10+ years here in Bragg Creek, and also past experiences in all sorts of endeavors. I hope to see Rockyview prosper and grow quicker, and that's one of the reasons why I'm returning to the election campaign. So I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity and wish everyone else here tonight a great candidates forum.
Thanks, Mark. Alison Whiting, please.
Hi, thanks everyone. And thanks for holding this forum for us. I'm Allison. I am running for councillor in Division 3 of Rockyview County. I've lived in the area for 5 years and I'm a mother of 2. And I also have 15 years of professional experience working in policy, both in the private sector and in the public sector, including time as a civil servant for the provincial government. And now I work as a policy advisor at Mount Royal University. So this gives me a strong background in good governance, sound decision-making, and understanding how policies impact the real lives of our families, our business owners, our entrepreneurs, as well as the ag operators and ranchers that live in the county. I'm running because I want to bring a collaborative, transparent, and practical voice to council. This is our home, and I believe our decisions today impact our future, and we want this to remain a place where families, businesses, and future generations can thrive.
Thanks, Allison. Now we're going to move on to the question and answer portion of tonight's event. Please note. Oh, I'm sorry. Marilyn?
Keep going, Jay.
Okay, did I jump into something there? Okay, you were just you're ahead of it. Okay, so now we're getting to the question and answer portion of the evening. And so 4 candidates will respond to each question, and they'll each have 90 answers, 90 seconds to answer. And then we're going to move on to the next set of candidates and a subsequent question. So Marilyn will be bringing the first question of the evening.
Thank you, Jason. Only 28% of Alberta businesses feel their local government provides clear and consistent information on regulations and decision-making. How would you improve transparency so businesses can better understand municipal processes?
Thanks, Marilyn. Rolly, we're going to you first.
Great, thanks, Jason. I appreciate that. Actually, it's interesting. While I was on council, it was a 7-year period. I'm a big fan of town hall meetings in person. And I don't mean the kind of meeting where you have a bunch of storyboards and you stand beside pictures and defend them. We used to have 60 to 80 people in the audience. I did that 25 times. What it does is it gives me an opportunity to be able to speak to anybody who cares to listen. And at the same time, it gives us an opportunity to understand what it is that people really want. The other thing I noticed after my first term, I did a count on my emails and I noticed that I processed almost 30,000 emails during the first 3 years. So when you consider the amount of time that you spend speaking to people in person, the amount of time that you spend addressing emails, and as James knows, I was involved with the attempted chambers that we did in the past there, getting together with businesses. And of course, if you want to have a healthy lunch break, I mean, almost anybody wants to buy you lunch anytime if they really want to know something or if they want to tell you something. I'm not much of a golfer, so I never had the 4-hour locked in opportunities to speak to anybody. But I think just staying in public and making sure you're available is very important.
Thanks, Rolly. Bev.
I just think it's really important to all continually connect and talk and genuinely listen to what business owners' needs are and where those understanding gaps are, so that you can try and work with staff within the county office to identify what is missing and how to close the gap. I think it's when you talk to people, Rocky View is a little bit notorious for having, like, people kind of roll their eyes and go, oh, Rocky View, it's difficult to deal with Rocky View. So I think that there's definitely ways to improve that. And the best way to do that is to actually connect with the business owners and identify what their needs are that they need support with. And talking is great, but genuinely listening to them is a better approach, so that you can understand that and then work with staff to close the gap.
Thanks, Bev. Milt.
Thanks, Jason. Hopefully I'll do a better job than I did on my introduction. You kind of caught me flat-footed, and I haven't done a lot of these things. The big thing that I'm hearing in the community and being part of it is that often the information is maybe not accurate. And when there is inaccurate information, somebody has to be held accountable for presenting inaccurate information. If we go down the path with information that isn't correct, then it doesn't matter how many people we meet with. It's just garbage in, garbage out. And what I would propose is that, as council sits, we need to get to a place where we can have confidence and faith in the information that the staff is providing, and then get back to the people that have the concerns. To tell people just kind of what they want to hear, sometimes it's not always the right way to do it. I think it's to go and talk, and if it's bad news, well, at least, honor your word, and when you say you're going to follow up with something, do it. And I think that would go a long ways in putting some trust in Rocky View. As Bev already mentioned, as people roll their eyes about Rocky View County, and I mean, that's a big problem, and it's real. I hear it all the time as well, that people leave the county and go to another county to open business, and we got to be open for business in Rocky View.
Thanks, Milt. Now we're going to move on to our next question with our remaining candidates here this evening. Nick, I see you have your hand up. Is there something you want to address, or?
No, it was a mistake on mine. That should be better now.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Just wanted to double check. And so now I'm going to call on James Mahler, member of the Airdrie Regional Chamber Board of Directors and Advocacy Committee, to ask our second question.
Thanks, Jason. Nearly 1/3 of businesses say municipal budgets are unclear. What steps would you take to make Rocky View County's budget more transparent and easier for residents and businesses to understand?
Thanks, James. Nick, we're going to go to you to kick this one off.
Sorry, I guess we double clicked that. I guess the biggest thing that can be done goes back to the last question. We talk about engaging with our constituents, the people who vote for us, and listening to them and governing on their behalf. But we have to remember, almost 2/3 of the tax base comes from non-residential taxes, and we need to make sure that those people, they're going to be a little bit more hypersensitive to the issues, and we need to make sure that we're getting out and listening and talking to them and engaging, and we need to do so in a fair manner so that it doesn't appear or get us into trouble.
Thanks, Nick. We're going to go over to you for our second response. Alison Whiting, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll echo a little bit what Nick said about how I think this question ties in a bit with the previous question, where it sounds like, a lot of these documents, whether they're regulations, policies, budgets and stuff, they can be quite tied up in legalese type language, and it can be really hard for folks to understand exactly what information they're supposed to be taking out of that and what information is most relevant to them. So I think a great way to kind of help connect with business owners and residents who are looking for that information is to create additional material that is in more of a plain language and really pulls out those key budgetary issues or those key policy issues that business owners need to know about, because they're busy trying to run their businesses, make sure that they're profitable. These people are often pouring in their time, their energy, their money into supporting their business and making it successful. And so I think the county could go a long way of supporting business owners by making that material way more accessible, way more easier to interpret in something like a plain language, as well as holding things like educational forums or webinars. And of course, lots of communication, like Rolly and Bev had said in the past, they're making connections in person, over the phone, make sure people always have access to you so you can answer those core questions that they have.
Thanks, Allison. Mark.
Thank you. I'm trying to remember the question. Anyways, I think I have it. One of the things we all fall into the trap of these days is trying to do everything ourselves. We have this thing called AI where we can write in there, what is a budget for this worth? What is a budget for this worth? Well, at the end of the day, I think the common theme here is that it's about communication. And so talking to the experts in the field, whether it's for land or a building or whatever, these numbers have to come from the sources of those who are experts in the field. So, whether it's infrastructure costs, costs for developers, use the experts the county uses and has them in their office, or they do subcontract for the right people. But don't ever let a politician come to you with a number unless it has come. They're just delivering it from the source of where true numbers come from. As someone who's been on a Chamber of Commerce before, yeah, even things like grant writing, you're always trying to come up with that magic number. Get it from the source. Don't get it wrong at the beginning, or it's always going to be a battle fighting admin or fighting residents. That's all I got to say.
Thanks, Mark. Allison Colbourne.
Thank you. I echo very much actually what the other Allison was saying around plain language. So our documentation is challenging for many folks, and business owners and all residents come from all walks of life. So we really need to do a better job. And we also need to understand that people have different communication preferences. So not only do we need to plain language, we need to have different formats. Some people only want the headlines and highlights to understand how it impacts them, and others really want to know the why behind it. So I think it's really important that when it comes to explaining the budget, give them the why. And as Mark said, you know, if we've got sources and experts who have provided us with data to come to those decisions, provide that information to people so they can understand how we've made data-driven decisions to come to the budget numbers we have. And just regular communications. Let's communicate in different formats like infographics, and you know, there are newsletters, and getting out and about in your constituency, but also in other areas outside of your own division. Super important that we're making connections with other people in other regions to help communicate and to listen to what the folks in that side need. For example, for us in Division 2, we have some unique challenges, but folks in the far east side have different unique needs. So we want to explain things to people and meet them where they're at.
Thanks, Allison. I'm now going to call on Ron O'Neill, member of the Airdrie Regional Chamber Advocacy Committee, to ask our third question of the evening.
Thank you, Jason. Businesses have said that attracting investment and retaining enterprises must be a municipal priority. How would each of you involve business leaders and also investors in shaping Rocky View's economic development plans?
Thanks, Ron. Nick, we're going back to you.
Perfect. So I guess the big thing is getting across the line. You know, with a are always the worst, and the red tape that exists, you know, within Rocky View, prior to that point in council, and you know, finding ways where we can properly represent the stakeholders, the neighbors at the beginning. I think
Nick,
that's something.
I think your connection. I think we should pause on you, Nick. I apologize. We're not hearing Nick's full response, and
system. We have.
Okay, I'm going to move us on to our next one. Okay, Alice, you know, Marilyn, you're freezing up a little bit on me too. I was wondering if it was on my side there. Nick, we'll come back to you. If you can hear us right now, you're just breaking up. So we'll circle back to you in just a moment here, and hopefully your connection improves. I'm just going to move on to Bev. If you could go with your response, and we'll work with Nick on getting him back online.
So I had a hard time hearing Ron's question, so I think it needs to be repeated because yeah, I couldn't really hear it. So if he could repeat that, I would appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. The question was, businesses have said that attracting investment and retaining enterprises must be a municipal priority. How would you involve business leaders and investors in shaping Rocky View County's economic development plans going forward? Did you get that okay?
So it's basically how can we attract more investment and retain it in the county? I think we need to go back possibly and revisit the 2020 COVID economic recovery plan that was done, because that document actually talks about how we can attract more investment. We could do some marketing campaigns. We could, and some of those, I mean, we have attracted big business like Amazon, Walmart, those are in Rocky View County. So I think we're doing a job of that. We also have to remember that it's not just about attracting business to generate revenue. We have to attract the right type of business that fits appropriately within our approved areas for development already. So it's great to say we need to attract it. I know in our division, in Division 2, Commercial Court, there's been a lot of commercial businesses that have tried to get started there, and they don't really gain traction. And I'm not sure if it's because of the proximity to the city, the type of business. So I think we really need to explore what's going where. It's great to say we need to have business, but what type of business is it, and is it actually going to work?
Thanks, Bev. Rolly.
Well, economic development is a massive thing. And a long time ago, they did a video, showed the whole Cross Iron area, and can't remember the name of the outfit that did it. It was about 5 minutes long. But we have the pleasure of being located where we are, right on number 2 highway, and we surround the fastest growing city in Canada, or at least it was, on 3 sides. Rocky View's 1 million acres, and we're still, I think it's 97% agriculture, but it's being supported extremely well now by business. And we have to keep in mind that the business taxes that come in are at a triple mill rate than the residents, so we have to be respectful of them. A couple of things. First off, when we have open houses, we learn a lot about them. We have committees that people can get on to start driving some of the statutory and non-statutory documents. Obviously, they attend hearings, so they get to speak at those. Keeping an open mind to what businesses are looking for, I think, is paramount. And if you're trying to attract business, that's one thing. But I think the question was, how do we get information from the businesses? And I think it's readily available so long as we let them know that we're willing to listen to them. Sometimes we get caught up in our policies so much so that they can't change. But I think as times change, policies need to change.
Thanks, Rolly. Allison Colbourne.
Thank you. I think, there's a big piece of red tape reduction that needs to happen when it comes to permitting and opening a business. We need to show that Rocky View County is open for business, and we want to work and engage with all different avenues. I think we need to change our reputation and be known as a yes and kind of place to do business rather than no. I think that's a lot of the default reputation that we have. And so what I mean when I say yes and, it's not that everything is going to be approved. There are going to be things that are not appropriate, or like we saw recently, that are great business ideas, but maybe not appropriate for the area proposed. And so it's changing that approach to say, hey, yes, I really like your idea, and could we perhaps look at it at this area of the region, or could you pivot this way, or could we put some architectural controls in place to make this business more feasible for the area? So I think there's lots that we can do. And I agree with Rolly, having open houses and working with neighboring communities, we've seen a great example of that with the Prairie Corridor. We need to have those sort of conversations on the regular to see what people are looking for, what ideas they have, and working with local chambers of commerce. You guys are a wealth of information, and your membership has lots of ideas of what we can do and what we can provide. And so exploring different opportunities that way. But I think it all starts with removing some of the roadblocks in place.
Thanks, Allison. Nick, we're going to go back to you. Hopefully the connection's been fixed up there.
Perfect. Yeah, I couldn't get away from work, so I'm doing this from the hotel, so I switched my phone. But anyways, the So there is a huge amount of red tape, barriers to entry when things don't quite go right, and it would have to be, presented to council. It feels like there's always another thing that needs to get checked, and the goalposts are always moving. Businesses aren't looking for moving goalposts when they're finishing and getting ready to prepare a project. And, creating the new MDP with all the, way that especially Langdon's ASP is working to look further into the future, not just 10 years, but 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. That's creating a big opportunity for when businesses are coming in, they can, instead of just ticking off boxes, they can become an actual part of the community and build towards what that community's identity is. Like Allison said, with whether it's architectural controls or, a yes and idea where you can expand on what they were thinking. It's building community, bringing us together, and making these areas, like assigning areas like growth hamlets and industrial areas where these projects can be focused and start and, get going quickly.
Thanks, Nick. You're definitely coming through a lot more clear there, so that's great to see. And so we're going to go back to Marilyn to introduce our next question, please.
And I see Crystal's entered, so welcome, Crystal. We're happy to have you. Rising costs such as permitting and franchise fees are barriers to business growth. How would you evaluate and address the impact of municipal fees and taxes on business competitiveness?
Crystal, welcome. You happen to be at the top of this list, so putting you in the hot seat right off the start to kick us off with this question.
Well, thanks a bunch. I do apologize. My iPad wouldn't allow me on. So the county is always looking for better ways to improve how we do business. And franchise fees, if we're going to talk about franchise fees, actually, the county, I do not believe, has anything to do with franchise fees. That's something separate. We don't have a business licensing fee at this time. We've looked at it, and we haven't really found a lot of demand for it. And so that's been for some people, it's a bit problematic because some businesses actually need a business license from the municipality they work in to access different distributors. So this is a much bigger conversation, I think, as to how we can better help the community, the business community. But that's a conversation that's going to have to happen with the business community.
Thanks, Crystal. Welcome. Now we're going to go over to Mark.
Thank you. Yes, as a resident of Rockyview and a small business owner, we haven't had to have a business license and things like that. So it's something I actually enjoy. It's just more money in my pocket, and talking to residents and small businesses throughout the county and here. It's a welcome thing, but I do understand the fact that, as Crystal pointed out, business licenses help when it comes to regulations, making sure people are following the same sort of template when it comes to operating their business. And someone has to be paid to do that, and that's where these fees come from. But so far, so good. I don't think there's been an issue with Rockyview businesses. And as Crystal says, something we go back to the table to, but the way it's been going right now, I don't think we need to have these kind of fees. As far as franchising, again, it's something we haven't been familiar with here in Rockyview. So that's a conversation to be had. Thank you.
Before we go to Milt, I will just comment that municipal franchise fees are a real challenge in a lot of communities. So that is very positive to see that Rockyview doesn't have them in place. Milt.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on what the other two guys said, or people said, Crystal and Mark, I've never heard of that being a problem. So I don't know what we would need to do to address. I think it's probably fine as far as our business costing and our business licensing in Rockyview. As far as I know, it's not a problem, but if if there was a problem, then we could address it then, but I haven't heard that.
Thanks, Milt. Alison Whiting.
Thanks. Yeah, what I took away from that question, I think, is that people are just really feeling the pinch financially these days, from every different direction, whether it's the franchise fees specifically, the startup costs of a business and things like that, and then also just obviously all the day-to-day costs of being a person in this world today. So, it sounds like business owners and entrepreneurs and people looking to start up business are looking for ways that the county can support them in that by reducing overhead and startup fees for them where we have jurisdiction. Obviously, we don't have any control over the franchise fees, as we've heard, and Rocky County doesn't have a business license fee at the moment, but just promoting that conversation, trying to reduce that red tape and make sure that Rocky View County are listening to people's needs, whether it's the business owners or the people wanting to start up a business. I think that would go a long way to improving the conversation and making sure people feel heard and supported in these endeavors.
Thanks, Allison. Now going to go back to James here to introduce our next question, please.
Thanks, Jason. East Balzac region has been an economic driver, and I want to know from the candidates, even if it's not your specific area, what the strategic vision is for Rocky View County in terms of the East Balzac region for future growth and development.
Thanks, James. Mark, we're going to you first.
Thank you, James, for the question. Well, as someone who lives in the opposite corner of Rocky View to East Balzac, whenever I venture into that area, most recently, I'm astounded by the growth I see. You see the logistic plants, data center proposals, and one of the things I guess we have to make sure is there's a good balance between growth, non-commercial growth, as well as our agriculture community and how it affects them. So there's a lot of juggling that has to go along. And I think to date, the East Balzac area has been able to make things good for residents, because with the non-residential tax base taking over the bulk of our taxes, it's good for residents. Nobody wants to pay a lot of taxes. So it is something we have to really carefully consider as we move forward with that area, as more and more businesses want to develop there. The proximity to a large center like Calgary, the airport, rail lines makes it a great place to start an adventure, a business adventure. Who knows what happens after that, but it will affect Rocky View in that it'll attract more businesses and families and things like that. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Rolly.
Feels like I just talked about something, but East Balzac, obviously, it's the growth there has been absolutely phenomenal. When we brought in a motion to try and get it so that the non-residential and the residential tax bases were similar, I didn't realize it was going to happen this fast. So it seems to me that over half of the taxes that are coming in now are non-res. So as we can rely on residential tax base less and less, I think we're going to discover that the amount of money that people are putting into the county can be made less and less as time goes on. A long time ago, I asked Kent, who was our financial director at the time, why don't we try and get our residential tax rate down to zero? I don't think it's been done anywhere in the province, but when we consider the fact that our mill rate is extremely low the way it is, after a while you start to not have to rely on residential tax any longer. As much as I like to see the growth that's happening in East Balzac, I'd also like to see Southeast Rocky View grow a lot. De Havilland's building an aircraft plant about 10 miles from our doorstep off #1 highway, and we have this beautiful place called Langdon that a lot of people live in, and I think we could be starting to develop a lot of offshoot businesses that would support other applications like that. So I'd like to see Southeast grow.
Thanks, Rolly. Alison Whiting.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I agree. East Balzac is growing really quickly and really well. Between like our latest municipal development plan, as well as we have a number of existing ASPs that largely focus on commercial and industrial growth in and around that area. So I think between those documents, we have a real strong framework that'll guide future development and growth in and around that area. We have up to 30 to 40 years worth of developmental opportunities and land that has sort of been earmarked for that kind of development. And so I think the county can go a long way in kind of supporting those plans and supporting that growth that has been planned for and set aside. So yeah, I don't know if I have much more to add than that, but I think there's a real opportunity there. And I think the county's done a good job at the moment of building a framework in place to support it.
Thanks, Allison. Milt.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, that question, in its fullness, what is our vision for the East Balzac? I think it's a pretty dangerous thing to try to answer off of the cuff. I think that's a good example of needing all of the information in front of us. We've had tremendous growth out there, an explosion of warehouses and various other developments. And it is always, I think, important to keep in mind the effect that that's going to have on our farmers and some of the infrastructure. Right now, it seems to be going good, but I don't know what the spin-off will be down the road. A lot of it's just up and running, if you will. But, being that I live very close to that area, it sure isn't encumbrance to get in and out right now. It seems to be okay. But I do know that the agricultural people are concerned about encroachment on their agricultural lands and their way of living. But I think to answer a question like that, I think that's a big question. You'd need to do a little bit more research than what we had time here tonight to do.
Thanks, Milt. So now we're going to take our next question presented by Ron, the Advocacy Committee.
Thank you very much, Jason. So to the folks here, clear, timely communication builds trust and goodwill between businesses and municipal governments. How do you propose to strengthen Rocky County collaboration with businesses and organizations like the Chamber of Commerce, for example?
Thanks, Ron. Crystal, going to you.
Thanks. Well, this is actually a conversation we've been having, and that's why we're here today, is because the Chamber in Airdrie has stepped up, and we are working regionally together, and it's working really well. We did try to do something in Balzac with the businesses, and there just wasn't enough time. I'm going to just say plain time for the business owners to actually take and build a chamber like Airdrie does have. We will continue to support Airdrie Chamber because they are doing that job for Rocky County, and we're seeing the results of that. We've had more events in the last 2 years than we've seen in probably the 8 that I've been sitting here. And I think it's a big discussion on how we can build it a little bigger, a little better, but we'll do that together and see where we can take it.
Thanks, Crystal. Allison Colbourne.
think it's just a matter of ongoing partnership. So making that commitment to regular meetings and building what has been working already, building that momentum that Crystal was speaking about. I think it's really important that we also have easy to access communication. Again, looking at plain language, updates, and updating beyond just the business community we're working with, knowing that entrepreneurs are everywhere. And they come in all kinds of different fashions these days, from folks who are looking to start something small from home that might need support from a local community or resources from County Hall, to bigger enterprises that want to do business in the county. So just, again, building on that and communicating and providing regular opportunities and call outs to people to come and be a part of something.
Thanks, Allison. Nick?
Yeah, so at the last chamber meeting in Langdon that I attended, we had one of the administration people there. And, I think that's a really good first step, because if she's participating and she's reporting back and, getting a little bit more back into council. But I mean, the biggest thing that a councillor has to worry about is, trust. It's the currency of politics. And having a county that is, has clear expectations and building out what it means to get a project from start to finish at the beginning and actually being able to follow that course throughout. So, whatever it takes to kind of listen more from the businesses and get that into administration and have that discussed in council.
Thanks, Nick. Bev?
Yeah, I think we need to connect with the Airdrie Chamber, maybe the Cochrane Chamber, the Bragg Creek Chamber, all of those small chambers or larger chambers that surround and support our county. Because those are, if we could create some kind of strategic committee where those chambers are collaborating with us and discussing with us what the actual needs are of those businesses, whether that's policy documents that are clearer for them to follow, and then also possibly creating a home-based business directory that could potentially support chamber growth. And it's not something that currently exists. And I think that I know the Bragg Creek Chamber of Commerce was having a really hard time even identifying who their home-based business operators were, because there was no directory available to them. And I think that that is a really important step to create some trust with and collaboration with the chambers, is to reach out and identify where those businesses are so that we can create some kind of directory and strategic committee for them.
Thanks, Bev. Now I'm going to go back to Marilyn to introduce her next question.
Thank you, Jason. What do you see as the top municipal issues facing Rocky View County today, and how would you address them? And yes, that's a loaded question, but just pick one. One top issue.
Thanks, Marilyn. Alison Whiting.
Thank you. I like how Marilyn prefaced that by saying it was a loaded question. I'll just pick one issue, and I think something that's coming up a lot for me when I'm door knocking is individual residents find it very challenging to work with Rocky View County when they need a permit to do some sort of work on their land, whether that's building a garage or expanding their shed or renovating an existing property, or even just sort of subdividing their land. And so I think Rocky View County could really help rebuild trust and their relationship with current residents by looking at ways to help reduce red tape for local residents wanting to do these things on their own personal properties, as well as things like startup small businesses and stuff like that, while keeping in place some rigorous processes and procedures that ensure that the county has good oversight and accountability for the things we're approving, especially when we're looking at larger scale commercial or industrial developments or large scale new housing subdivisions. But yeah, I think more than anything, local residents want to feel heard and they want to feel supported by their county.
Thanks, Allison. Bev.
So the issue that most of the residents in my division have been sharing, and I think it's an important one to tackle, is that our infrastructure is really keeping up with our development. We've seen our county is full of provincial corridor highways, Highway 22, the number 1, the number 2, and that really can, and though the traffic on those corridors have exploded and our development is increasing, and like in my division where I've lived for 40 years, the biggest upgrade outside of what's happening for Bingham Crossing at the overpass was a range road was paved and a traffic circle was put in at another spot. So, and in the 40 years I've been alive, the traffic has exploded. The population has exploded out here. And I just really feel like we need to make sure that the roadways that are supporting our residents are adequate and safe. A lot of them are narrow, they don't have any shoulders, and that's a real risk to our residents.
Thanks, Bev. Mark.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Marilyn. One of the, well, I mean, there's so many top concerns, so I'm going to go back to my division, Division 1. We've heard of all the wildfires that have been happening north of us in BC, south of us, and fire mitigation is a huge, huge concern, not only in Bragg Creek where we have the trails and the system out there, but all along the river corridor. There's grasslands, there's forestry, and we need to have proper mitigation to get people to safety in a fire event. Now, right now, even with our neighbors, our Sutina neighbors, they can be affected. So we don't have the best strategy in place right now due to, let's call it, lack of funds and some leadership right now. We need an egress road in Bragg Creek. As they say, we are the next, let's call it Jasper. You know, the evacuation plan is helivac all the residents out, let the houses in the forest burn down. That's not good enough for me. You know, we need to get working fire hydrants. We need to get proper fire services closer to our area, a fire station. I'd love to see maybe a bridge across the Elbow River to be able to be used during the event of emergency, not only for people to get out, but for emergency service people to get in. So yeah, fire mitigation, wildfire catastrophe issues are what we have to deal with here. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Nick.
So I guess the two big ones that I've been hearing have been red tape and then public infrastructure. And I'm going to go with red tape as like the number one, because whether it's, you know, a golf cart corral that our golf course doesn't even want to attempt to put up because they've seen how many hurdles they have to go over, or, you know, our one big business on the south side of town basically just getting a big fat no when they wanted to do a shop expansion. You know, it's things like that that are making it very difficult for Rockyview to get the attention that we deserve. In terms of the infrastructure, you know, we just in the last few years, we got the ball rolling on a bunch of projects to actually make a difference. And we need to maintain this trajectory that we're on as attracting businesses into Rockyview so we can maintain the attention of the province to get a lot of these, you know, big infrastructure projects across the line and completed so that our communities can feel safer and, you know, not have to pay $2,100 and wait a year so that they can have a less than an inch relaxation on their front approach.
Thanks, Nick. Just to let everyone know, this is a really important question for all the candidates in here to answer with diversity representation in the county. So I'm just going to make the call here. I'm going to go to Crystal for the next response to this question, please.
Thank you. So if I look at the county as a whole, and my division is also very much affected its growth. The one thing is Alberta is calling and people are coming. And so while that's great, it's also hugely problematic because we're not prepared. So I'm hearing the right thing in the right place. We need to make sure that development is happening in approved ASPs. We need to ensure that the developers are carrying their load, which Rocky View County has always been very good at, is ensuring that they're paying their share of the development. As we always say, development pays for development. But at the same time, we also need to remember we're a big county. And we're going to have to get a lot more pragmatic as to how we choose to grow and what needs to go where. And Connecticut is a great example of wrong place, very interesting project. So I guess we work with those kind of projects and we make sure we have a home for them. Given that we're just under 1 million acres, I'm sure there's a spot for everyone. And Balzac is definitely a home to many of the commercial industrial developments that we have coming in. But when you're looking at larger scale, we have to get really smart about how we're doing that. Because we all know there's only 7% agricultural lands in Canada. And we need to be careful about what we're doing with ours.
Thanks, Crystal. Rolly, I'm going to go to you.
Do you mind repeating the question for me?
Yes, sir. What is the top municipal issue or issues facing the county today, and how would you address them?
The top one in my eyes by far is the amount of rules and regulations and the time that's involved in any application of any kind. I've recently tried to help some people that have a 20-acre piece to split a 4-acre piece off of it, and they're suggesting it's going to take 11 months. It's right in the middle of an area that's nothing but 4-acre pieces, and so they're quite concerned. It was a grandfather that gave lands to his 5 grandchildren. He's 20 acres, and he wants to put a 4-acre piece on, and Glenmore Trail widened, so it made it so they're 3.85. And so 11 months later, these 5 people are going to have to share the expense of about $100,000 for something as simple as an ordinary house that they have a couple dogs in a shop. Now, when we take that and transpose it into commercial, it's not $100,000, it's $1 million. And so the fact of the matter is offsite levies will cover a lot of stuff, but if it becomes abusive in time, it also becomes abusive in money at the same time. So getting rid of a lot of the problems with permitting conditions.
Thanks for that, Rolly. Now I'm going to go to Milt, please.
Sorry about that. I should have had it unmuted. The problems that I see within the county of Rockview is we continue to talk about more tools and you know, the comment about the fire prevention, and I think all of that stuff is great. And I think it is important to look at the whole county, not just Balzac, although Balzac's the hotspot. But there has to be transparency in the rules and some consistency in the rules. And I think it's the job, my understanding and what I'm trying to sign up for as a councillor is that when there's a problem in my area, I hope I can approach staff and have them explain to me what is the problem. And the confusion is what always causes anger. If people understand the rules and the rules are consistent and they're fair and they're transparent, most people can live within that. But when there's one set of rules for one group of people and another set of rules for another group of people, and it starts to feel like there's stuff swept under the carpet, then people aren't very comfortable with that, or they're not very comfortable. So what I would propose we do is hone the tools that we do have and nurture them instead of having new ones and coming up with great ideas that we never follow through with.
Thanks, Milt. Allison Colbourne.
Gonna try and cram a few in here, so forgive me for being fast. I think development and growth is big. So growth is important, but it's got to be smart and it's got to be sustainable. So we need to make sure that it's strengthening, but not overwhelming what makes Rockyview unique. And we also have to look at these strategic growth opportunities, knowing that Calgary is our neighbor and is always going to want to acquire more land. So let's be good neighbors and look at smart development opportunities to provide services that they might need that are mutually beneficial for us. Also supporting local business. So I have heard from business owners across our area that some of them chose to go down the painful permitting path and it nearly put them out of business before they started. We need to fix that. And some of them actually chose not to start their business because the permitting process was so laborious and the red tape was just too much to handle. So we have to change that. Small and medium businesses are essential to the county. And so we need to be proactive in working with these groups and removing these unnecessary barriers, which are also costly. And then supporting our seniors. We know that folks need somewhere to go. Not everyone can age in place. So we need to make sure that we have the right services for them and keep them within their communities. It's hugely important as you get older that you have a sense of community and a sense of belonging. And when folks are forced to move from the land they've known and loved into the city, that has a detrimental effect on their health.
Thanks, Allison. I'm going to go back to James to introduce our next question, please.
Thanks, Jason. I want to ask all the candidates how they will advocate the Alberta government, departments within the Alberta government, like Alberta Transportation, on the important economic impacts in their region. For example, the 566 overpass over Highway 2 and East Balzac, but each of you can give an example that of an economic project in your region where you'll have to liaise and advocate with the Alberta government.
Thanks, James. Milt, we're going to you.
Hi, sorry for continuing to go back to wanting more information in order to answer a question. I think all of those questions would have to be answered on a as yeah, I don't think we could just answer something like that without having the information in front of us, the pros and cons, what is the cost, etc. I don't feel comfortable that we can answer it just hypothetically.
And that's fair enough, Milt. Thank you. Rolly.
If you're talking about AT, it's really tough to nail them down to a budget. They put things into a 3-year plan. And I know the overpass that you're talking about, James, was planned for about 15 years ago, and then they shelved it for a period of time. And they did that after they picked up a lot of the land and got prepared. So hopefully it happens soon. Airdrie did get their 40th Street overpass in, and over in our area in the southeast, I mean, we have Langdon that's now hitting 6,000 people, and there's one thoroughfare that goes through, which is Glenmore Trail. The city of Chestermere, it was supposed to have developed Pagan Trail coming out to 240, which would have given them a south entry. They're now using Glenmore Trail. We have all the people that are living in Langdon that are working in Calgary driving down there, and it's clashing everywhere. Stop signs on one way or another with multiple turning lanes that are mixed with thoroughfare lanes just don't make sense. We got an accident every week there. What we ought to be doing is getting some more definite plans out of AT, and I spoke to them, and they say that they're willing to fund stuff, but they're going to rely on municipality to do the design, and the trouble that they see is picking up the land to be able to put it, whatever infrastructure that they're putting on it, as well as dealing with environmental, which environmental is obviously their problem. So
thanks, Rolly.
I love
Crystal,
by the way.
Thank you. So Rocky View County has worked really hard to develop good relations with the province. And I'm going to speak just to my division. So currently in the next 24 months, we're going to see a traffic circle on 5, 6, 7, and 22. The intersection of Lock End Road and Highway 1A is going to see a light. But what's going to happen? We're actually quite open-minded at Rocky View County, because we're actually going to pay for the light to go in. It is not on the list. We can't get it on the list for the province. So we went to them and said, if we choose not to pave the north end of Bearspaw Road, and instead we take and allocate our funds to proper turning lanes and a signal light system, would you allow us to do that? And then we just simply asked the question, and they came back to us and they said, yes, we just received that. They are going to take our gift. And so sometimes it has to be a give and a take. And the one thing Rocky View County is very good is contributing their share through levies. The developers are contributing anywhere they're developing, they're contributing to road and infrastructure improvements. So we're in a really good place, I think, with the province right now.
Thanks for that, Crystal. Allison Colbourne.
I think any thriving business thrives because of building, being reliable, being responsive, and building great relationships. And this is what we need to continue to do. As others have said, we've got some great relationships in the works, and we need to continue that. We have, some wonderful things going on in Division 2 in terms of where Bingham is. So at Highway 1 and Range Road 33, we've got great improvements with the off-ramps, thanks to partnerships with the developers and working with the province. The twinning of the bridge for phase 2 will also be a huge improvement. But we've got more work to do. And Highway 22 and Range Road 250 is a bit of a scary area. We have increased traffic, obviously, with development that's happened there. And so one of the things I'm hearing a lot from residents is, can you please do something about the turning lane? So again, while we may not be able to do it ourselves, we will build the relationship and make the case for why this is important. And be good neighbors. As Crystal just shared, sometimes there's opportunity to have give and take. And so we need to explore all options to make sure people are safe.
Thanks, Allison. So I'm going to go to just making sure that I'm staying on track here. Just give me one quick moment here. I'm going to go to Alison Whiting, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I think a huge job of the county is to build and foster positive relationships, whether that's with the individual residents, the business owners, and of course with the province. I think everyone's spoken really well here on the traffic infrastructure that we need to support economic development, economic growth, and things like that. Another area that I think is very top of mind for me is the Ministry of Education and building relationships with them and the school boards. So, in order for businesses to thrive, they need people to go there and support them. So things like when we're looking at growth and we're looking at our population growth, making sure that we have that infrastructure as well to support the families that are moving here and supporting our businesses or opening their own businesses. Rocky View County has school land available, some of that land they've been sitting on for 20 plus years. And I think there's a real opportunity now to foster a better relationship with the province, with our school boards, to make sure that we are supporting families that are moving here.
Thanks, Allison. I'm going to go on to Bev.
So I'm going to probably echo and repeat some of what other people have said with, advocacy with the province, whether that's the Alberta Education, Alberta Traffic and Infrastructure. There's there's already existing relationships and partnerships there. So I think it's really important to maintain and nurture them. A critical project in Division 2, and Allison Colbourne kind of mentioned it already, is Highway 22 at Township Road 250. When Highway 22, which is slated to be upgraded to 6 lanes in the next, well, they say in the next 5 years, who knows when that will actually happen or not. It is, I think it's planned that there'll be more of a service kind of access road there. So it will make it safer for residents at that point. But I think it's really important, because I'm hearing the same thing Allison is, that people feel that that corner is unsafe. So are there things that we can be doing now to make sure that it's safe for residents? We have to work with the province, and I think you know, the MRA is a great opportunity to connect and work with the province when you get an opportunity to meet at those regional meetings.
Thanks, Bev. Mark.
Thanks again. Everyone has shared many of the thoughts that I have, and to bring it home for me, in 2013, Bragg Creek, we had a flood. And at that time, we had to rely on not only the world, but especially our government to come in with help, everything from mental health to traffic and safety, fish and wildlife, water. Every department had to come to our aid. And that flood threat has now turned into a wildfire threat. And the same thing is happening again. We're going to have to deal with wildlife, fish and wildlife. We're going to have to deal with traffic, mental health, tax burden on all Albertans should we, God forbid, be devastated by a wildfire. So it is a county issue, it is an Alberta issue, it is a federal issue. And working with governments at any level is critical to moving anything forward. So again, as Bev and Allison mentioned, Highway 22 and Highway 8 needs to be addressed, given the more traffic that's coming through from Highway 8, especially now that Bragg Creek is a center for tourism, and a lot of families are moving in, which brings small businesses. So again, education is another department that gets affected. So all the way down the government line, it touches, especially here in Division 1, everything as we move forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Nick.
Yeah, so right now our county's rapidly gaining approval for a lot of shovel-ready projects, largely because Alberta does have that $2.6 billion capital investment in roads and bridges. I think a big part of why we're getting a lot of that attention is because, Rockyview kind of stagnated for 20 years and then finally has started to get the ball rolling on a lot of different things since, Balzac kicked off. And we have the attention of the province because there is a lot of tax revenue coming out of Rockyview now. We need to maintain that. In terms of upgrading our infrastructure, we have Rainbow Road or Range Road 283, whatever you want to call it, where it intersects with Glenmore. And it is a straight up disaster. If Mad Max was filmed in the wintertime, it would be at that intersection. We have Prairie Gateway, where both Calgary and Rockyview are petitioning for federal support on. And that could possibly push a lot of different infrastructure projects across the finish line that will ease that intersection. The province is trusting Rockyview to complete that Range Road 283 and Glenmore intersection. We just need to make sure that we stay on the path that we're on, or pick up the pace and get going even faster to make sure that we do not lose the attention of the Alberta government. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. So we're going to our last question of the evening, and that is going to be brought to us by Ron.
Thanks very much, Jason. I think a lot of my question has been answered, so I'm going to rephrase it a little bit and ask each of the candidates, based on what you've heard from your fellow candidates and in light of what we've been discussing, these transportation challenges, what do you see as the number 1, the number 2, and number 3 priority for all of Rockyview? Even if it's not in your area, what would you support and say that, yes, this is the number 1 most pressing issue And I'd like to put on the tail end of that any comments about how some of the transportation corridors are treated a little bit like a landfill, and what you might have, what are some of your ideas to address that? Thank you.
It's a great question, Juan. Nick, it's random order, but we're going back to you to kick us off.
So I think the new MDP has gotten off on the right foot of identifying areas for certain things. You know, if we are going to put a dump somewhere, there is a place for it. Not in my backyard is a pretty good answer that most people will defend when other people say it. But we have to make sure that there is a forward thinking, you know, in Langdon specifically, our new ASB that looks out, 40 years and tries to identify what's happening next. The water study we're doing that covers, 16,000 acres to figure out how and what the long-term impact of the drainage into Weed Lake is going to look like. These are important first steps. These are steps that, I believe should have happened 20 years ago, but they just didn't. So we got to get them done now. So in terms of a 1, 2, 3 way, we need to have a stronger voice. We need to have a system that works and is, expedient to get projects across the line. We need it to be safer, whether that's infrastructure, whether that's, municipal policing committees that we're a part of, and finding ways to engage with our local enforcement and sustainability. It was touched on once about, retirement facilities. We need to keep our seniors here in Rocky View. And I guess I'm out of time now. So, yeah.
Thanks, Nick. Bev.
I think the most pressing issue is actual sustainable development and ensuring that the infrastructural needs support that development. And that's not just roads, that's water, that's wastewater, like electrical, all of it. I think that we really need to look into the future and see what our municipality is going to need in a more longer term than just 4 years down the road from now. When we talk about developing seniors housing, one of the reasons it hasn't gone forward is there's no viable regional transportation for them. So without transit and shopping areas and a pharmacy, where do seniors even get the things that they need? A thing with seniors housing is you also need you need nursing care. So in a rural area, do you have staff comm without any infrastructure like transit to support staff commuting? You have to really look at what does it take for these things to exist. Infrastructure is so much more than just the roads for people to get to and from where they live to where they work and recreate. But how do we handle everything? And we need to look a lot further into the future than 4 or 5 years. We need to start looking 10, 15, 20 years down the road so that things can be set up in a way that manages growth and interfaces Calgary and more urban areas with our rural municipality.
Thanks, Bev. Alison Whiting.
Thank you. Yeah, specifically to transportation, I mean, Rocky View County is a rural county, and so a lot of those roads and intersections that people have been bringing up, those were rural and were never designed for the level of traffic they're seeing today, let alone the traffic that we're predicting with the slated development we're going to see. So I think in my division, what Crystal shared about the 567 and the 22 and then Lock End and 1A, those are fantastic progresses that people are so happy to see coming because they're so needed. And then I think in terms of so we just need to keep that going, I think is the point there. And then in terms of like the top 3 priorities for me, it's reducing red tape for residents and really kind of building that trust with them when they're working with the county to do those projects on their land that they want to do. And it's thoughtful evaluation of our development plans that are coming forward to make sure the infrastructure is there so that those businesses can thrive. And as Bev said, that's not just roads, but we're talking water, power, services like that and a customer base. And then finally, RBC, again, it's a rural county, so we rely heavily on the infrastructure and urban developments around us, like Airdrie and City of Calgary and Cochrane. And so making sure those relationships are really strong so that we're working on shared goals.
Thanks, Allison. I'm going to go to Crystal.
Thank you. So I think if we were going to talk about 3 priorities, if I got to put it on a plate and say, this is what I'd like to share. Infrastructure is important, development's important, and then how we get there is very important through planning and development. So for me, development has to happen in an ASP. It has to be well planned and thought out. And those ASPs have to have a visionary look for 15, 20, 30 years down the road. The longer the time we're finding, we're just changing too fast. And so that's become a little bit of problematic. So again, we're going to look at ASPs that are existing and are they working? What changes do we need? And that helps us to drive the development where it needs. The developers are always very cognizant that road development, when they bring something in, is part of the deal. And we're seeing them stepping up, putting in infrastructure sooner. And I think we should do that. We should be pushing for that. Rather than an intersection in phase 3, we say, let's do it in phase 1. Let's get it in place before the growth actually happens. So we're starting to see that. We are, planning and development. Planning and development is always a big one because we are complicated. We're a big, very big, diverse municipality, and with lots.
Crystal, just letting you know time's up on that one. So we're going to move on to ask Mark for his comments.
Thank you very much. With regards to, I guess, a top three concerns, again, everyone's talked about working with the planning and speeding things up when it comes to permitting and planning growth for not only businesses, but residents as well. We have to be more future ready as a county. And so it impacts everything, like transportation right now in my division with the areas of Elbow Valley, Springbank, the road bridge work going on at the Elbow River, that impacts Rocky View greatly. Nice access to the Elbow River for recreation has been dismantled. So I'd like to see that be rebuilt, and that's going to evolve working with Calgary, Sutina, and Rocky View. Emergency services, again, for me, huge point in that, we are the next wildfire area predicted. So our roads have to be built for more traffic, more visitors coming in and out of the Bragg Creek area in a case of an emergency, which might mean another bridge, access roads through Sutina. I mean, there's so many different things. Development on the northeast side of Rocky View with Balzac area. Again, we have to weigh in with what the agricultural community wants versus the business community and the residents. So everything is impacted. Everything hits the table all at once. Thank you very much. And I have a second. Bye.
Thanks, Mark. Rolly.
If you're looking for a 1, 2, 3, it's kind of tough to do. One of the overall things that we need is good government, and good government means that you got to plan things properly. What I would like to have is a Rocky View County where everybody's really proud to come to do business with, first and foremost. And what that means is eliminating all of the hard time that everybody's had and all of the time problems, the expense problems. I'd like to also, we haven't touched on recreation at all. We have a lot of people live in the county. We're at, I think, 46,000 right now. And so whenever developers come in to do something, There's a voluntary rec fund levy that hardly anybody pays into. I think we need that as well. We had an offsite levy opportunity put into the MGA probably 12 years ago, and I don't think people are using it very often. The other thing is that if we have some fiscal responsibility on everything that we're doing, and if we start using some of the levy money and spending it while we're replacing it instead of waiting until we get it in before we spend anything, then what happens is we end up with the infrastructure that's way behind development, and that's unfortunately where we're at right now. A lot of the partnerships that we're doing through IMCs and working with different communities, different governments, like the Prairie area that I know it as Shepherd, but there's a lot of things we can do with other communities.
Thanks, Rolly. Thank you all for those responses to those questions. And that concludes that portion of the evening. We're going to now move on to closing statements from each of our candidates. Each of you will have 60 seconds to provide those, and we will be calling on folks in reverse alphabetical order. So Nick, you're kicking us off.
Seems to be happening a lot here. So I guess the big thing that I want to be remembered for tonight is I do want to see Rockyview grow. You know, we have an incredible opportunity to grow our non-residential tax base, and we have a great opportunity for our growth hamlets to benefit from that. I mean, really already talked about the possibility of one day reaching a $0 residential tax, and you know, it's not unreasonable to hope and aspire towards that. But you have to make sure that as a county, we can find ways to make it better for businesses to do business here. You know, continuing this momentum we're on, continuing to identify growth areas and focus, you know, big industrial growth in those big industrial growth areas. So when the public sees these projects, they think, wow, this is awesome. It's going in a good spot for it, instead of having to come to, you know, county and talk to it. We talked about business licensing. You know, if that's
Nick, we're at time for that. Thank you for your comments. I'm going to go to Alison Whiting next.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to the Airdrie Chamber of Commerce for hosting the event, and for Jason for moderating, and for my colleagues for the really thoughtful and engaging conversations we've had here today. I think there's been some great points raised across a variety of topics. And I guess I'll just end by saying that I think Rockyview County has so much potential here, and we're on a great track to economic prosperity and growth and things through thoughtful planning within the designated growth areas in our ASPs and our MDP, building up that infrastructure so that businesses can thrive, and preserving, you know, the rural integrity and character of our county, so that we don't forget about those ag operators and the ranchers and stuff that also call Rockyview County home. Thanks.
Thanks, Allison. Milt.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, it was a really interesting evening. It's I'm sure hoping I get to work with a bunch of the candidates. It's even if we didn't have all of the answers tonight, I think we have the whereabouts as a team. The new council will get in, and to be part of Rockyview, probably the hotspot of all of Alberta. I can't say that 100%, but I don't know if anything's growing faster than around Calgary. And in our area, Division 5 is what I'm representing, is where development meets agriculture. And it's so good to hear a bunch of the candidates mention agriculture. Sometimes out east here, we think that the West kind of forgets about us, but it's I was very honored to be on tonight, and hopefully going forward, if I get elected, it's time for a change, and I hope we can make lots of good changes, and not everything is broken. I think lots is going really well. Thanks.
Thanks, Milt. Crystal.
So I'd like to thank the chamber for doing this evening. I know it took a lot of work to put this together, and so thank you again. So for me, I guess Rocky View County is a very diverse, very big municipality with the pressure of a city on three sides. The one thing that I have worked hard on is developing a better relationship with our biggest partner, which is the city. They give us the biggest pressure, the biggest headaches, and sometimes the biggest wins. So Prairie Gateway was a big win because we managed to come together for that. But I'd also like the candidates to, I'm going to wish everybody all the best moving forward. And we have a lot to learn. We're doing great. And our relationships with the province have increased tenfold in the last 4 years. And I am so grateful that that's where this is going, because that is one of our bigger drivers that helps us make our county a better place. And I wish everybody a good evening.
Thanks, Crystal. Mark.
Just want to say thank you to the organizing committee here with the Airdrie Chamber for putting this night together, and all the other councillors. I guess for me, I just want to see us build a future-ready county. Having been a councillor a few terms ago, I witnessed a lot of, I won't use a bad word here, and that's one of the reasons I'm coming back, is we have so much to offer, enormous opportunities here, and I just want to see more transparency, a better functioning council. And I think, with some of the people I've met tonight, we can make that happen. And on a personal note, I really want to see us look after our seniors. Nothing pains me more when I see seniors leaving our community, and not only in Bragg Creek, but throughout Rocky View, and they can't age in place. So that's a focus that we as the younger generation have to do. Who am I kidding? I'm one of the old guys. But anyways, just best of luck to everybody, and see you on the campaign trail.
Thanks, Mark. Bev.
Okay, well, I'm just going to say thanks again to the Airdrie Chamber and to all the other candidates for coming. It's great to meet you virtually, because we're all out busy doing our own door knocking and campaign events. I think it's time that we think long term when it comes to development. What does it look like? How does it fit into the larger picture? And what benefits does it bring? I think we need to continue working with our urban collaborating with our more urban partners, the City of Calgary, Town of Cochrane, Airdrie, all of those that are surrounding us, and the province. And we put growth where growth makes sense, and build out our existing area structure plans, and put new ASPs in strategically placing them so that they don't eat into our ag land that is decreasing at a rapid rate, so that we can protect what makes Rocky View County really special.
Thanks, Bev. Allison Colbourne.
I also want to thank everybody who showed up and submitted questions ahead of time from the chamber. I appreciate that very much for coming out. It was really beneficial to have this forum. So to echo what a lot of people said, yes, we need to grow sustainably. We need to protect our rural values, but we need to deliver reliable, responsive services to the people that pay the taxes in this area. And as a person who's newly come to the county within the last year and a half-ish, I can tell you, I bring an outside perspective, and it's a bit like a time machine when you come here. We are a little bit behind the times, and we need to modernize our services and give people better bang for their buck and be a little bit more responsible. Also, I think we as leaders need to set an example of how we behave in council, and we need to be there to support everyone, no matter where they are in their journey through life, whether they're a master ag family who's looking to phase things out because somebody else has gone to be a doctor or a lawyer. We need to support all walks of life through Rocky View and be there for them.
Thanks, Allison. Rolly.
Thank you. 1 minute. I echo the thanks to the Airdrie Chamber and Airdrie and Area Chamber, I guess it's called now. And a couple of the quick things. I think we're all kind of proud of where we live and what we're trying to do. And I don't think there's any exceptions to that. Everybody wants to have good government, and that's what we're attempting to become part of. In doing that, I really want to see Rocky View become a place that's a good deal, and I want it to be a good deal, but I want it to also be a comfortable deal. So when somebody comes to do business in Rocky View, I hope that when they come to that beautiful thing area of where the mall is and the county office and everything, that they're really, really proud to be there. And when they leave there, they feel good and they feel looked after. And I'd like to make sure that, above all, that everything works well and that we continue the legacy that everybody before us has put.
Thanks for that, Rolly. I just now going to wrap up here and turn it back over to Marilyn for closing things out. Just want to say thank you very much. It was an absolute pleasure to be part of this evening. It's a real honor, and I really enjoy these, and pretty energizing to hear the visions that you folks have for the Rocky View County. So thank you again.
Thank you so much to Jason Leslie for joining us from the Alberta Chambers of Commerce to moderate this important event. Let's show him some appreciation for his great work this evening. Thank you so much, Jason. And please join me in thanking all the candidates for participating in this evening's event. It takes significant amount of effort and time to allow your name to stand forward as a candidate. You are all brave people who obviously care tremendously about your community, and I have a tremendous respect for all of you for participating in tonight's forum. And while our chamber does not endorse any one candidate, it is our responsibility to help the public and our members better understand the issues at stake in our upcoming municipal election and where our candidates stand on business-related issues. If you have any additional questions for the candidates that were not asked this evening, please reach out to them directly. I'm sure they will be happy to answer any of those questions. The event was recorded this evening. Please visit our event webpage to locate the Zoom video within the next 48 hours, and we will be sure to send it to all candidates who participated this evening to share it with your communities. We hope that by attending tonight's event, you will make an informed vote on Monday, October 20th, 2025. Thank you all for attending this virtual forum and for supporting your local Chamber of Commerce. Have a great evening. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.